45 years, 0 name changes, new offices, more staff, improved technology to better serve you. Education, services, investments. Think real estate, think Marshall Reddick. Brokerage, property management, private lending, creating financial independence through real estate since 1979.
All right, everyone. I hope your nights are going well. Thanks so much. I know this is a pretty hot topic, and we always have a lot of interest here to learn more about some of our markets. Once again, my name is Carlson. I'll be presenting alongside Stephany Caravantes, and we're really excited to kind of dive into this topic. Some things we expect from you is obviously one, we want to make sure you guys are learning tonight. So if you have any questions that you don't get answered, put in the chat. At the very end of the presentation, Stephany and I are going to have an open Q&A. So we're welcome to any of the questions you have throughout the presentation. We'll kind of answer those and address them at the very end, as well as any additional that you might think of at the end. Feel free to write down, take notes, but you don't have to worry about taking a picture of each slide because we're going to send them to you when we're done. So we'll send you a copy of the slide deck, as well as we'll send you a link to the recorded presentation. That way, if you want to review it or if you want to send it to other people, you're welcome to do so. But without further ado, let's dive in. So a little about me. I'm a licensed real estate agent and advisor. I got my bachelor at Vanguard University, and I started in real estate accounting. So I spent time as an accountant, and I spent time in a private lending department, actually here at Marshall Reddick, loan underwriting. And then I was a property manager for a little over a year, which is nice. I feel like I got a good background in understanding of the ins and outs of the real estates, and obviously, especially on the investment side. I've done transactions in over 9 states. Marshall Reddick has a lot of investment opportunities. One of those is the Marshall Reddick Mortgage Fund, and we'll dive into it very briefly. But I myself, I'm an investor in the Marshall Reddick Mortgage Fund, as well as I've bought and I own real estate. So I also speak from experience. And I know it's not on here, but I'm also a soon-to-be dad of a sweet baby girl. So excited about that one too. I know that's coming up here very soon. But yeah, that's a little about me. And some of you, this might be your very first time being introduced to Marshall Reddick. Others, maybe you've been on a lot of our webinars, but a little about us. I'd like to say Marshall Reddick is a one-stop shop for real estate. You can kind of break that down into 4 different divisions. First is we're a full-service brokerage. Whether you're looking to buy and sell your primary in one of our markets or an investment property, we've got you covered. And then going further is we're a full-service property manager. So we handle everything from leasing, maintenance, rent collections, day-to-day management, and after that is we have private lending. Maybe you can't qualify for a conventional loan, maybe you already have 10, or you're buying through an LLC. No problem, Marshall Reddick can finance your deal. That's where private lending comes in. And then on the flip side of that is you can actually invest into those mortgages. Whether you're looking to just invest directly in the loan, you own the deed, you own the title, or if you want to join a pool of capital, you have the Marshall Reddick Mortgage Fund. And that's where you kind of collect a quarterly distribution. So I'm an investor in the Marshall Reddick Mortgage Fund myself. And a little bit about our offices. We're kind of spread throughout the country, but we're also targeted when we select our offices. We have offices in California. You'll see there in Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside. And then as we head over to Texas, we'll talk more about San Antonio today, but we're also in New Braunfels and Austin and Houston. And then in Tennessee, you'll see we have offices in Clarksville and Nashville. And then we're also located in Southwest Florida, down in Cape Coral. So why do we choose these offices? Well, there's a very good reason for why we chose the markets. First is the job market. We want to make sure that there's a high opportunity of jobs, maybe a low unemployment rate, a good diversity of jobs, and that's always helpful for investments, especially when you're trying to find tenants and you want to make sure there's a good job pool for the tenants. And that brings us into vacancy rate. How many days on market is the average days on market for your property? You don't want to go in a small city where there's a very little pool of tenants or renters, and it takes 60 to 90 days to rent your home. We like where you can see 30 or less days and your home's rented. as well as, the average amount of renters to primary homeowners is close to about 50%. Same with economic diversity. We want to make sure that you're not just, there's one industry, and if that industry goes out, then all of a sudden your entire market's done. We like when there's maybe obviously government jobs, you've got military, you've got tech industry, a little bit of everything. And Stephany will kind of dive into San Antonio specifically and why we love the market, and then housing affordability. It's not as easy to buy a property in Southern California as it would be to get started in San Antonio. So it's a little smaller barrier of entry, making it easier for you to afford. And it's very landlord friendly in a lot of our markets too. So if there's problems with the tenants, or if there's laws that are passed, a lot of times they usually are going to be more favorable for you as a landlord, and that's something that we have to look out for as well. And then education systems are really important. Maybe not in the direct center of these large metropolitans, but really when we see a lot of the suburbs, you see high school districts, maybe there's universities, maybe there's good high schools. Those are very helpful for attracting quality renters that are going to be educated and are going to usually tend to stay longer. And then last is you want to make sure there's reliable property management. You don't want to be in a market where there's maybe one or two property managers, and if your property manager is not doing well, you only have one other choice, and hopefully they're better. You want to be in a place where there's competitive property managers. So in San Antonio, you have a very large selection. They're going to be similar pricing, and they're all competitive with one another to provide the best quality service, and that's how you know that it's going to be a good experience for you working with your property manager. And a little bit about our management, and we'll kind of touch on this, is obviously we believe we should only profit when you as the investor profits. And what I mean by that is we charge a percentage of the rent collected. We don't charge during vacancies, and we don't profit on maintenance. Instead, we outsource our maintenance to our large list of third-party vendors. We get you multiple bids or estimates for the work needed, and then there's no conflict of interest. We find if there's an in-house maintenance team, usually there's a conflict of interest because you have to upcharge in order to profit on that in-house maintenance team. And then we do very aggressive leasing. Our average lease time is about 2 to 4 weeks. And then our leasing is going to be 50% of that first month's rent that's collected. In addition, Marshall Reddick is really diligent on making sure your rent is up to whatever the market standard is. And so every year we're going to analyze the market rent. We're going to run data reports, send those reports to you, and our goal is to maximize your rent. So if we can increase the rent, we'll let you know, hey, this dollar amount is where the market rent is. We're not just wanting to keep the tenant in forever at the same rent. We want to renew them on another 12-month lease, but also make sure that you're making the best dollar amounts you can from your property. And a little bit on our team here. So these are a couple team photos. You'll see in the top left that massive Marshall Reddick sign. That's going to be our New Braunfels office. It's hard to miss it when you're driving by. And then we've got our San Antonio office on the top right. A lot of our team members are there. Now this is comprised of like management staff, realtors, some of our accountants, private lending. On the bottom right, that's our Clarksville team. You've got our California team there in the center, and bottom left, you're going to find our Florida team. And without further ado, I would like to introduce the keynote today, Stephany Caravantes.
Thank you, Cameron. Can you hear me okay? Check, check. Can you hear me? Can you put just on the chat if you can hear me, please?
Awesome. I saw a couple yeses here.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cameron, and thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Stephany Caravantes. I am from Mexico City. I moved here to Texas about 12 years ago, and I've been with the Marshall Reddick family, because for me it's a family, since 2019. I also, like Cameron, I did a little bit of property management, which it gives us a huge huge knowledge in the just on that side. I was a tenant coordinator, maintenance coordinator, so I got to learn a little bit of maintenance, and then I decided to switch to the sales side. Again, I'm from Mexico City. I went to college over there. I have a bachelor's degree in international business. I am a landlord myself. I bought my first house and then turned it into a rental. So I also have experience in that sense. I feel what you feel. The same things that worries you worry me. I have a great property management, which is Marshall Reddick. And then I also did a lot of leasing on my 2 first years of being a realtor. I have leased over 200 properties in San Antonio, New Braunfels, Austin surrounding areas. So also I have a little bit of experience on that sense. And just to get into the good stuff, why Texas and why Central Texas? As you may know, Central Texas, well, Texas is the second highest population state right after California. At the beginning of the year, I was doing a webinar just like this one, and we were a little bit over 30 million people living here, and we are now surpassing that 30 million and heading rapidly to the 31 million mark. That gives you like a good sense of the growth that we are experiencing. And it's been always a state that is growing on population, but of course with COVID happening, the pandemic, a lot of people moving from like higher expense states coming to states like Texas, we saw that exponential growth, and that's been happening for the last 4 years, and I don't think that that's going to stop. It's projected that Central Texas, from San Antonio to Austin, is just going to develop into a big metro area, just like Dallas-Fort Worth. Again, back in 2019, Marshall Reddick had only between 200 to 300 properties under management, and I'll show you here in the next slide, but right now we are over 1,700 properties under management. So again, that's a great pointer of how important Central Texas has become as a hub investment for a lot of people, not only out of state, but also outside of the US. I have clients from Mexico, I have clients from Japan. So again, Central Texas is just a hub for investment. Another reason why Texas, specifically Central Texas, is Texas is very landlord friendly. I know there are states like California where the laws and regulations are in favor of the tenant, but not in Texas. In Texas, those regulations are in favor of the landlord. And just to give you a couple examples of that, is number one, we don't have any caps on rent. So we don't have the government telling us you cannot charge beyond this amount of rent in this community or around this area. That of course gives you freedom of being priced at market rate, depending on the location, depending on employers around, depending on the specifications of the home. So again, you have that freedom. Another example of Texas being a landlord-friendly state is your worst-case scenario, which is the eviction process. I've seen states where the eviction process is very lengthy, it's a pain, and I think I will be concerned about going through a lengthy process. Here in Texas, the eviction process is very expedited compared to other states, or efficient. Let's say that you have a non-paying tenant. You give them a 3-day notice to either you have to move out or you have to pay rent. If that tenant doesn't abide by the letter, then you can go ahead to the court and file for eviction. Again, we don't see those instances in Marshall Reddick that often. I think within my property management career, I saw 2 evictions. But if that worst case scenario comes, then you want to make sure that you are in a market where, again, you don't have this lengthy and painful process, and you know that your landlord is going to be there to represent you and is going to be as smooth as possible process. Texas is also a minimal disaster zone, meaning we don't have any tornadoes. We're like far enough from the coast where we don't have like tropical storms or we don't have hurricanes. And this is very important because it's going to allow you to have affordable homeowners insurance. Again, I'm comparing to other states. I see states where because of fires or because of tornadoes, the providers have been pulling out, which leaves you only with 3 to 4 providers, and those providers are jacking up prices like tremendously. And that's obviously that hits your cash flow. In Texas, we still have the advantage that because other than 100-degree weather during the summertime, we don't have any of those disasters. You have providers where to choose from, and obviously those providers try to be competitive with each other, which leads to a more affordable insurance marketplace. And this is the next one is I think like Cameron was mentioning on the previous slides, this is very important, and this is why Central Texas and San Antonio, it's a very strong market. We have a diverse workforce. We don't rely only on tech. We don't rely only on the oil and gas industry. We have a great mix between the government, corporate offices, manufacturing, medical, and of course, military. We are a huge military city. We have 5 military bases in San Antonio alone. So again, all this good mix is going to make the market very strong. And just as an example of this, during COVID times, I was still working within the property management team, and we were bracing for, again, worst case scenario. We knew that a lot of people were going to be in default of mortgages, a lot of people were going to be in default of rents. And we were pleasantly surprised when after all this happened, we were obviously keeping tabs and making sure that what is our default rate. Overall, through COVID, the default rate was between 2 and 3%, which is compared to other states and other markets, it's very, very on the low end. And we know that this is because we have a workforce that it doesn't rely only in one industry. And the next one is just like a note to you. Texas had a budget or a surplus budget in 2023 of almost $33 million. That means that the government now in 2024 is looking to reinvest that surplus. There has been a few projects already where the government is reinvesting, which is like rehabbing downtown San Antonio, giving tax, it's not tax breaks, but like Proposition 4 that just passed. This gives homeowners like a break in the taxes where like appraisal values have a limit now, or they give money to schools so the school taxes can be lowered down for homeowners. So that ultimately is going to benefit primary home buyers and obviously investors. And this is, again, I just wanted to put it as a side note for you to see that we don't have a deficit, we have a surplus. And of course, when you have money just like sitting there, the money is going to want to reinvest this money. And just to going back to the properties under management and the growth within Central Texas and of course within Marshall Reddick, this is the units that we have under management between San Antonio, New Braunfels, Austin, and it doesn't show Houston, but Houston is one of our newest markets, and we are also rapidly growing in Houston. Again, when I started in Marshall Reddick back in 2019, we were at like 300 units or properties max, and just in a few years we have grown we are close to 1,800 now. And again, this is not only a good pointer that Marshall Reddick is a strong property management company in Central Texas, but the growth in San Antonio, Austin, New Braunfels, in regards to investment, all these companies moving out here. Already we had a diversified workforce, but all these tech companies, all these other companies moving to Central Texas obviously has led to this growth. Then here are a few of the top employers. I couldn't fit all of them on this slide, but these are a few of the top employers. We have USAA as a financial institution, financing. The financing industry is going to be big here as well. We have Chase, Hartford, a lot of insurance companies, corporate offices. We have Amazon. We have HEB, which is our Walmart here. It's like a staple grocery store. It is a huge employer with great benefits. We have the U.S. Army, of course. Toyota on the manufacturing end is one of the biggest employers. Rackspace for technology, I didn't include it here, but Dell has been growing so much in San Antonio that they're going for their third data center, and that I'll show here in a bit. And of course, again, medical is another top employer. UT Health, which is the University of Texas in San Antonio, they have their own research center, they have their own medical facilities, and they're the top employer in that area. But we have so many medical facilities or medical employers here in San Antonio, which they service the Army and obviously the civilians as well. If you're not familiar with San Antonio, this map is going to give you a great insight of how we, here, people that will live in Texas, how we see San Antonio kind of divided. You have the north part, which is going to be part of the Hill Country, is going to be also where you have the San Antonio International Airport. And that's going to be your higher concentration of medical facilities, white-collar demographics. You have a lot of corporate offices as well. Is going to be your luxury area. You have higher price point neighborhoods in the north part of San Antonio. You have all these luxury shops like La Cantera. You have like a lot of like high-end brands in La Cantera and other shopping centers there in North San Antonio. Then you have West San Antonio, which is just also, I mean, San Antonio is surrounded by the Hill Country. So if you go far enough to the north, like Northwest, North Central, Northeast, you're going to hit the Hill Country. But Northwest San Antonio, that area is very established. It's one of the first established areas in San Antonio. So it is still growing, but it's growing to the outskirts, like farther away from downtown. But still, there's a lot of investment going on in that area. You have, again, in every corner of San Antonio, you have a military base. So it doesn't matter if you go north, west, east, you're gonna find a military base, which is great because you have military tenants, which are like very on point with rent. They have housing by the military. So that's, again, a big leverage that San Antonio has. Another point of Northwest San Antonio is that you have all these attractions like Six Flags, SeaWorld, which a lot of people or a lot of tourists, they obviously go to these areas. And affordability wise, it's more affordable than North San Antonio, which again is more like the luxury end. And you have the diversity of single family homes, multifamily communities as well. So again, and it's still growing a lot, even though it's already very established. Then you have South San Antonio. South San Antonio, it's closer to downtown, hence you're gonna have a lot of the like San Antonio culture. You have a lot of festivals going on. You have a lot of gentrification also going on, where there's a lot of neighborhoods that are being either renovated or trying to be rehabbed. It's the most affordable area of San Antonio. We do manage communities out there as well, because there's always a market for everyone. It's growing a lot too. Again, there's all this rehabbing going on. And again, it has the pro that is very close to downtown area, which a lot of people like. And then you have Northeast San Antonio. Northeast San Antonio is the area that is developing the most right now, because it still has a lot of land available. So there's a lot of new construction communities popping up there. It's also an affordable area compared to North San Antonio. You have also an Air Force base there. You have a lot of shopping centers coming up. I'll show you one, like a multi-use development that is in the plans there in Northeast San Antonio. And you have also the leverage that you can find single-family home, multifamily communities in Northeast San Antonio. I think mobility-wise, also Northeast is great because it's just like 25 minutes away from New Braunfels, which is New Braunfels is right between San Antonio and Austin. And if you want to go to Austin, it's only about an hour and I'll say between an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes away from Austin. So location wise, East has great mobility versus, let's say, Northwest, which you are like all the way, pretty much people that they live in Northwest is because they stay within San Antonio versus people that they like to live in Northeast San Antonio is because they like to be able to go to New Braunfels for the weekend or to Austin for the weekend. But just in a nutshell, these are the areas of San Antonio. And again, compared to Austin market, San Antonio is very affordable, and you're gonna have the price range. Like you can go north if you want more like a luxury single family home, or you can go east if you want something a little bit more affordable for either a multifamily or a duplex. So San Antonio has plenty of options in that sense. And then here we're looking at San Antonio from now to 2030. There's a lot going on in San Antonio. I'm always in the look for new places to go, like new restaurants, and I can even in my lifetime, I wouldn't have time to go to every single restaurant new that pops up in San Antonio. But of course, there's major developments, major investment in San Antonio going on. One of those, and the newest one that there's on record is, again, Dell is very big in San Antonio. They already have 2 data centers, and they are building the 3rd one in Northwest San Antonio. Very close to next town, which is Castroville. We actually have investment opportunities there. And because like I was saying, the northwest side of San Antonio is growing so much that it's expanding farther from downtown. It's growing a lot, so there's a lot of investment coming. Dell is one. Amazon was one of the first ones that moved to far northwest San Antonio, and now we have Dell expanding their data centers there. So this is going to be a multi-million-dollar development. It's going to be a lot of employment, of course. And you have all these transplant that they work for Dell and then they move here because they were transferred. So that's one of the biggest projects so far. Another big project that is on the work since last year is in Northeast San Antonio, which is Sante 51. I think I have showed this on a few webinars because it's obviously a project that is going to take a few years, but this is the biggest one that is on record for Northwest San Antonio. And again, it's due to the growth. This is a multi-use project. So you're gonna have a couple hotels there. You're gonna have retail. You're gonna have a lot of shops. You're even gonna have a police precinct there. So it's going to obviously drive a lot of newcomers to Northeast San Antonio. A lot of people that they like the mobility of Northeast. Now they're going to be appealed because right now Northeast, it's still growing on the retail sense. So you still have to drive a little bit to get to the shopping center, but this is going to be huge. It's going to attract a lot of new people, and again, it's going to be a multi-million-dollar development. Another new project, which I think a lot of people they're going to be excited, is the expansion of the international airport. Right now, our airport, it has 2 terminals, but because of the growth and because the city is foreseen for even more people moving here, They're actually a little bit behind, but now they released the plans for the expansion of the San Antonio Airport, which is going to be another terminal with a lot of restaurants, a lot of like innovation. So I think this is a major, because our airport was falling short for the growth that we have, and you know that the government doesn't keep up to date with the growth of a city. So this tells you that the city is just planning for more and more growth. And then I wanted to go over a couple investment, multifamily. Of course, we have single family opportunities in all around San Antonio, but these are active investments that we wanted to present to you, because we know that right now, or within the last year or two, interest rates hasn't been the greatest. But the beauty that we have in San Antonio is that there are builders, because they have inventory, because they see that a lot of people, they're still investing in San Antonio. They have great incentives. Like it is a rate buy down way lower than market rate, or like concessions, or just like incentives to attract people keep coming over here. These two communities are going to be in far northwest San Antonio, where there's a lot of the growing happening. This is a duplex community called Amanda Park. Brand new multifamily community that has this type of incentive, which is a lower interest rate. They're offering a 4.7 interest rate. And that obviously makes an interest rate makes or breaks your cash flow, as well as a tax rate. So San Antonio, it's regards tax rate, it's on the conservative end versus cities like Austin or like Dallas, Fort Worth. So you have already a lower tax rate in San Antonio, but again, if you can add these incentives like a lower interest rate, that is going to lead you to good numbers, to having cash flow, which has been tricky with market rates, interest rates. But anyhow, this duplex community, brand new with builder warranties. So a lot of people, they ask us, what is the difference between a pre-owned multifamily or single family versus a brand new multifamily or single family? With new construction, if you want an investment that is going to be out of sight, out of mind, the new construction is great. Not only you have the incentives from builders, but you also have a product that is going to be covered for X amount of years, and then any maintenance item that you have, then you're not gonna have to worry about it for at least the first 4 years or 5. So this duplex community will send you information about it, but if you see the cash flow that we have with this rate buy down, it's close to $300, which again, in this market is a little bit tricky to get to a property to cash flow when you take into consideration the market rate and then the taxes, and then your fixed expenses, which is going to be besides the tax, your insurance, your HOA fee if you have one. And in this case, if you have a tenant, they take care of the utilities and the landscaping. And anything that you want to add on this example, Cameron? Nope.
I think in regards to the financing, I guess in 2 slides, we're going to talk about, Reed Hazard as the preferred lender, but really the best way to kind of sum it up is the opportunity that we have right now with these builders kind of beats a lot of the other properties on the market just because of the rates. So having a rate at 4.7 versus 6.7 is a big difference, as opposed to whatever the same dollar amount would be on the purchase price. And that's kind of what the builders said. They said, oh my goodness, like it's hard to pencil these out. It's hard to sell these, especially considering these are multifamily, so investors are buying them. How do we fix that? Well, rather than just dropping the prices and still having the same problem, they're offering creative financing, and that's how we're able to kind of get to this. So I think it's awesome that they're able to give these opportunities.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's I haven't seen that in other markets like, let's say Austin. Austin does have multifamily, single family, but it's very hard, like Cameron said, to pencil out those numbers because you have a higher tax rate, and then you have builders that obviously the sales prices are way higher, and then you have builders that they might be offering some incentives, but they're not offering something on the interest rate, which is again, it makes a lot of your cash flow. Like it can either make it, break it, or you can break even depending on the interest rate. By the way, this community, just as a reference, is going to be right where that like 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from that Dell data center is going to be. It has the area is fully developed. You have elementary school across the street. You have the middle school like 7 minutes away from it, and this is just an example of how not when you see an investment opportunity, you have to not only look at the location, the area, but you have to look at, again, that the numbers work. And how the numbers are going to work is when you have a seller or a builder offering incentives of this type. This other example, this is a fourplex also in the same area. This builder is also offering an incentive very similar to the interest rate below market rate, 4.75. This builder is also offering 2% towards closing costs, or if you want to use it for even bringing the rate even lower, you can do that as well. I'll say that there's very few multifamily builders and even single family builders that they're doing this type of incentives. So when you are in the lookout of an investment property, it's very, very important that you have a realtor that knows the market, that knows builders, because there's going to be realtors that they can send you, again, properties and numbers, but those numbers are going to not look the greatest. And having those relationships with the builders is going to be very, very important right now, because they can tell you, we can do this, we can get this incentives for the builders, or we can submit an offer at a lower price point. So again, having a realtor that really knows the market and knows builders and they have a relationship with them is going to be very important. This fourplex, it has a great feature. So you not only have 4 units, but these 4 units are sitting on 1 acre lot. Again, we have a lot of land available here in Texas still. So this builder decided to build within 1 acre lot, because you typically have, when you think about multifamily, you think about like one building right next to the other. And this builder didn't want that. Like they wanted to give more like a sense of privacy for tenants or for owners that are going to buy one, live in one, and rent the other 3. So you have land, which meaning land you're going to appreciate better if you have more land. If we see at the cash flow on this one, it's also around $300 monthly cash flow, because you are looking at a lower interest rate. And just like the same with the other one, new construction, it gives you a builder warranty. It gives you the peace of mind that you're not going to see like out-of-pocket expenses for maintenance, at least for the first 3 years or 4. So again, a lot of clients tell me, okay, I want to look specifically to pre-own. And once that they look at pre-own, there's going to be options that they do fit exactly what they want. But once that they look at new construction, the incentives plus the peace of mind, they more than usual, they end up going with new construction.
And before yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if we're going to head to the next slide, but I wanted to kind of touch on something you said, Stephany, mentioning you want to work with an experienced agent. Obviously, Stephany's being humble, but Stephany's leased hundreds and hundreds of properties all throughout San Antonio. New construction, pre-owned. She's also sold hundreds of doors for both new construction and pre-owned. And so part of when you're looking at these investment properties, you really have to lean on your realtor and get data. You don't want a realtor that doesn't have property management, because they'll tell you, oh, it'll rent for this dollar amount. And it doesn't matter to them. All they do is they get the sale, and they don't have to go lease it. They don't have to manage it. They don't have to uphold what they told you up front. So it's really important when you're looking at these homes, make sure your agent is familiar with the rental market. Make sure your company you're working with also does property management, because they're the ones that has to lease your property in under 30 days for the dollar amount they quoted you. They're also going to know exactly what the rentals are, because chances are they manage 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 homes in that same community. So it's really important when you're looking at these investment properties, lean heavily on your realtor, but also you want a realtor that's done the leasing, or that at least understands the rental market just as well as the sales market.
Yeah, definitely. And just to piggyback on that, I know that this presentation is very like a very general info that you're getting today. But what we typically do is Cameron and I, if you want to know more about the market, about the areas, just like get a little bit more insight and more detailed insight. Cameron and I get in a consult with you, like a Zoom or video consult, and we go in way more detail in regards like neighborhoods, examples, our calculator that you see here. This is like a general breakdown, but we go step by step on that consult, and we let you know how we get to these numbers, how when we send options, what we go based on. Rental analysis we do to make sure that that property is actually going to cash flow, or that is going to rent in a timely manner. So yeah, just to piggyback on that Cameron said, it's very important that you have someone that has not only done like sales. I think having a background on the rental market, you can see a property and say, oh, that property is very nice. I bet that it will rent for $2,000. And it's different when you run the numbers and then you add your taxes, your interest rate, and then it doesn't look that great on numbers anymore. But yeah, like having a consult, I think if you want more details, is the first great step. And again, we go more into detail into the market, the areas, and our financial calculator. You want to take it from here, Cameron?
Yeah, and obviously we were mentioning those really cool opportunities with the interest rates. Well, okay, like where do I start? Well, that's where you're going to find Reed Hazard. Reed's actually our preferred lender. We've worked with him for over 18 years. He financed my loans. He's financed Stephany's loans. A lot of our investors work with Reed, but he's also just a wealth of knowledge. Reed owns investment properties in Texas. He owns investment properties in California. He owns investment properties in pretty much every single one of our markets. So he's not talking about something he doesn't understand. He gets it, and it's a good first step. When you hop on a call with Reed, Reed's gonna kind of break down your debt to income, figure out what your max qualification is. This starts your journey of, okay, now I understand I'm looking in this price bracket, or I can afford the fourplex, or I can only go to the duplex, or I'm looking at single families, or this is my very first investment. Help me understand what it even looks like. That's where you're going to break down the numbers. And then when it comes to creative financing on any of these new construction properties, Reed's going to explain that even further, so you can see, well, why is the rate 4.75 when market says it's 6.75? It's really good. I would just say opportunity to kind of dive further into the lending side and understand where does lending come from and what can I qualify for. Reed himself, though, as I mentioned, he's a family man. He's worked with over 1,000 Marshall Reddick clients, and then he's licensed in every single market we operate in. And he's got a great team too. So he's not a Marshall Reddick employee, but I mean, we basically say he is because he's such a wealth of knowledge. And we lean on him just like we would lean on a realtor to understand more about that specific property. So that's a good next step. And then if you want to learn more about this presentation, you can actually find it on our website, marshallreddick.com /San Antonio. We have a very detailed market data packet. A lot of the points that Stephany touched on, and then going obviously into further depth, you can kind of explore that packet anywhere on our website, or especially on the Learn page. When you get to that, you can kind of see on the left side, there's different filters and criterias you can go through. Marshall Reddick has free education on just about any real estate topic. So feel free to click on, go through those, It's always a good way to answer some of your questions. And then we call this like basically the Marshall Reddick like real estate Bible. It's the property rating ebook. If you haven't had a chance to read this, I highly recommend it. This will help kind of narrow down your criteria or help you understand what it is that you're looking for in an investment property. Tells you the difference between property classes, how those property classes are classified in the first place, and then how they act differently, whether that be your appreciation, your cash flow, the kind of tenant you're going to get, the kind of return you can expect, when to sell it, when to 1031 exchange. It's just a really good wealth of knowledge, and anything on these resources, Stephany and I can also talk through or answer as well. And that kind of brings me to a next step is let's talk. Let's have a consultation. Stephany and I would love to get on a video call with you just like this, but now you get to communicate with us and we get to answer your direct questions. And that's kind of a pretty good next step. So you have our information. We're also going to send this presentation. It's recorded, so we'll send the recording and a follow-up email likely by tomorrow, as well as you'll see the presentation slide deck. But before we let you go, we'd love to answer some questions. If you want to just type a couple questions that you may have in the chat, and if not, when you log off, there's going to be a quick survey. It's just going to ask, hey, how did you like the presentation? And is there anything you were hoping to learn or any questions you got answered, or maybe something you would like to get answered on a further follow-up, and we'll follow up with you. So either one's fine, but welcome to any questions you have here on the webinar. Question we got here is, what is the difference between San Antonio and New Braunfels? Maybe Stephany, if you want to touch on that one.
Yes, of course. So San Antonio and New Braunfels, I'll say they're not, in regards to demographics and employers, they're not going to be very different. They're just right next to each other. I'll say from far northwest San Antonio, it's a 40 to 45-minute drive to New Braunfels, just because there's right now a lot of construction going on everywhere. We're expanding a lot of highways. I'll say the main difference will be the price point. New Braunfels is a little bit more demanded. Again, the demographics don't change a lot, but New Braunfels is considered a little bit more family oriented. It's very demanded because you are close to Canyon Lake, you are close to the Guadalupe River, which it's those outdoor spaces are super demanded during summertime. Everyone goes there. So again, the area is a little bit demanded, so your price points are going to be a little bit higher. In just as an example, like a 1,600,000 square feet home in San Antonio, depending on, of course, where in San Antonio, but let's say northwest San Antonio or northeast San Antonio, you can find them from anywhere from 240,000, depending on the builder. Something like kind in New Braunfels is going to be a little bit higher, probably around 260, 270,000, again, depending on the builder. But that takes me back to, like, you need a great realtor that knows how to find you the best deal, give you options, and of course, give you the best deal within builders or pre-owned even.
Awesome. Another question we have here is, for my first investment, do you recommend single family or multifamily? I can answer that one. I think easiest, I think we'd have to hop on a consultation, kind of figure out what you're looking for. There's pros and cons to both. You might see an easier appreciation on a single family just because when you go to sell it, you're not just selling to investors, you're selling to investors and primary residence buyers. However, it might be a little easier to cash flow on a duplex or a 4-unit up front, just because the cost per door is a little less when you're buying, but it also depends on what you qualify for. Anything else you want to add on that one, Stephany?
And no, just again, confirm that it's going to depend on your goals, of course. And number one, like Cameron said, depending on what you get pre-approved for, if you can afford either or, is just going to be mainly based on your goals. If you want to go ahead and have 2 doors under one roof, minimize maintenance expenses because again, you have 2 doors in just one roof, or you be a little bit more conservative and start with a single family home and maybe then diversify to a duplex. But again, I think that a consult is very important so you can see the difference between one and the other, and also again, fun areas and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Another really good question. What does a typical builder warranty look like?
The typical warranty here in Texas is 1 to 10. So you have 1 year workmanship. So anything that they did wonky or something like that, they go back within a year. And I always recommend to do your first inspection and then a second inspection right before that year is over, so the builder can fix anything. Then you have 2 year for plumbing and electrical systems. And you have, of course, your 10-year on major structures, which is going to be your framing or your foundation.
Awesome. And then another good question here. Can you explain property taxes for me as an investor out of state?
So property taxes here in San Antonio area, you're going to have different areas where property taxes are going to be different. I know that there are states that they're pretty much by county, but here in San Antonio, it's one county can have different tax rates. So let's say that one neighborhood in Northwest San Antonio has a tax rate of, because it's a little bit or considered already outside city limits, can be at 1.9 tax rate. So that means that when we take it for new construction or the first year of your sale, we take it, the sales price, you multiply that for 1.9%, and that is your projected taxes for the first year. And that's being very on the safe side. It can be less than that because, of course, the first year your appraised value is going to be lower than the sales price, but we like to be like on the safe side. Now in that same Northwest San Antonio area, you have another neighborhood that the tax rate maybe it's a little bit higher because it has a big HOA amenities. So your tax rate is a little bit higher at 2.1. Then you multiply your sales price for that 2.1%, and that's when you're going to look at your yearly taxes. I hope that answered the question.
Got it. I think that's the last of the questions we have. Does anybody else have any questions they want to throw up before we conclude here today? I don't see anything coming in, but once again, you will receive a quick little questionnaire as you exit this. But thank you everybody for joining us today. Stephany did a great job, and we look forward to connecting and meeting with you guys after this. Have a great day or a great night. Take care.
Have a great night.